and welcome to the national election debate. As we run up to the general elections, there has been a pressing need for a forum in which some subjects which are critical, subjects on which you will probably cast your vote, are discussed in detail. An opportunity for political parties not just to squabble on these issues, but to lay out threadbare what they believe in and what they can offer to you. Therefore, let me begin this episode of the national election debate by saying that there are certain ground rules for the debate, which I will lay out before you. But the fundamental principle is this, that Indian democracy needs an opportunity for greater voter awareness. These 6 national election debates, which will culminate in one super national election debate right on the eve of voting in April, hope to set the ground for that. Before I welcome our panelists, let me first a round of applause for our 100-strong audience here today. Thank you very much. And I look forward. I see a lot of very young faces in the audience here today. And in a country in which more and more voters are in the 18 to 25 category, I think there are many of you here who are in that age group. So thank you for joining in. I hope you have strong participation in this debate. Feel free to applaud someone. Feel free to cheer for someone if possible. Try and avoid booing for someone if possible. The ground rules. Well, we will make sure in the course of these national election debates that India's principal political parties, that is the BJP and the Congress first, are represented in every debate. The presence of other parties or players in the debates will be issue specific. Secondly, as I said, these debates will provide a platform on which these issues which will have an impact on the elections are discussed and debated in detail. The debate, I hope, will lay out the official position of the parties on these subjects. What the participants therefore say in these debates will be considered by all our viewers nationally as the last word on the subject. Each of their comments is therefore on record, and each comment that they make will have a sense of great finality. A note to the panelists, therefore, think through what you are going to say, because what you are going to say will be the final position of your party and cannot be passed off later if it's controversial as your individual opinion. There are 2 broad ground rules we are following in the national election debates. First, the views expressed are those of the political parties and not individual positions, since each of the representatives here are either authorized or they have been appointed by the parties to express their point of view. Secondly, Times Now is hoping to have a great amount of plurality and balance in the debate. In different points of view, it's not always possible to achieve perfect balance, but our attempt is towards achieving a broad balance in the subject. Our subject for this national election debate, ladies and gentlemen, is this: communalism before the elections and secularism after the elections. Communalism before the election and secularism after the elections is a reality of Indian electoral politics. I would first like to start with a call of hands of those who believe in the subject, are for the subject or against, before I introduce the panelists today. The subject is this, and those who believe that this subject is correctly worded may please raise their hands. Communalism before the elections and secularism after the elections is the reality of Indian electoral politics. How many of you agree with that statement? I wouldn't take a percentage on that, but I think that's roughly 50-50 therefore. Our 4 panelists on our first national election debate. From my extreme left, Randeep Singh Surjewala has been active in politics since his teenage years, when as a 17-year-old he was made General Secretary of the Haryana Pradesh Youth Congress. He was National President of the Indian Youth Congress in 2000, made Secretary of the All India Congress Committee in 2004. He's a Cabinet Minister in the Haryana government and has also been appointed in the last few years as the National Spokesperson of the Congress Party. Mr. Surjewala, thank you for joining us. Can we have a round of applause for each of our panelists?
Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Randeep. It's good to see you face to face sometime. Smriti Irani, to Randeep's right, joined the BJP in 2003. She was made president of the Maharashtra Youth Wing of the party in 2004. In 2010, she was appointed as national secretary of the party and made president of the All India President of the Women's Wing of the party in the same year. She has been a member of parliament in the Rajya Sabha since 2011, one of the most vocal and well-known faces of the BJP, Smriti Irani. To my right, the RSS, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, does not willingly participate in television debates. I think there is something compelling about this subject which has made Ram Madhav join us today. Mr. Ram Madhav has been associated with the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh since the age of 16 in 1981 when he volunteered with them as a full-time worker. Mr. Ram Madhav is the face of the RSS, a national spokesperson of the RSS since 2003. Mr. Ram Madhav, thank you. And to his right, the fourth participant in our national election debate is Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi. He's the national president of the All India Majlis-e-Ittehadul Muslimin, the AIMIM, and is a member of parliament from the Hyderabad constituency. He was an MLA in the Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly from 1994 to 2003, elected to the Lok Sabha a year later. His party allied with the UPA in 2004 and 2009 in controversial circumstances, quit the alliance in November 2012. A vocal speaker who often disagrees very strongly with Ram Madhav. Asaduddin Owaisi, thank you very much for joining us on this debate. Are we ready for a free and open sharing of views today? The rules are very simple. Introductory comments are for 2 minutes. The buzzer will go at the end of 2 minutes and every 30 seconds after that. Please stay to time. If you feel any speaker has made a factual inaccuracy in what he says, you can come in and say that you have a fact check. Otherwise, try not to interrupt the speaker in his first flow of thoughts. After the first introductory comments are made, you can come in with two forms of interjections, either a counter question or a rebut. You have a choice of any. There'll be 2 allowed to each speaker. The debate begins here. I would first like to introduce Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi into the debate as someone whose views very often have been seen to be the views of the fringe on the subject. Communalism before the elections and secularism after the elections is the reality of Indian politics. Mr. Owaisi.
Let me first correct you. I don't represent the fringe. I represent the backward and the disadvantaged people and the minorities in particular. The first point which I'd like to make and the people should understand is that communalism before election and secularism after election. If we see what BJP has done from 96 onwards till 2003, they have practiced communalism before coming to power, and then to come into power, they have diluted or set aside some of the important issues which the RSS stands for. Now, the second important point which I would like the youngsters over here and the nation to understand is that what Mr. Modi speaks of first, India first, please understand that Article 25 to Article 30 talks about protecting religious and cultural identity of the minorities. When you talk about India first, this is nothing but a majoritarian form of democracy. Our democracy, yes, in practice it might be majoritarian, but our forefathers intended that this democracy, which is parliamentary democracy, which practices first past the post system, must be participative democracy. If India goes towards the path of majoritarian democracy, then the whole ethos of this nation, our nation stands on pluralism and secularism. If majority democracy is practiced, then forever we can forget pluralism and the diversity which we celebrate each and every day.
You've stayed to time, Mr. Owaisi, which is surprising sometimes. Thank you very much for your opening comments, Mr. Owaisi. Rebuts or counter questions to Mr. Owaisi from any of our panelists, please. Is Mr. Owaisi going unchallenged?
No, he's not, but I was waiting for my turn to do my introductory comments. I think that in a nation where around 433 million youngsters wait for job opportunities, a nation which is challenged today that 1 out of 3 graduates go unemployed, a nation which ranks 63rd on the global hunger index, but where we see 44,000 crores of worth of food stuff being wasted every year, which could have fed 6 crore people. That is a nation today which is positioning itself on issues of development, on issues
What's
which
your
are
question
core.
To Mr. Owaisi?
My question to him thus is this, that when Mr. Owaisi speaks about participative democracy, when he speaks about equality and pluralism, and he quotes articles of the Constitution, the same Constitution also speaks about justice for all and equality for all under law, which is the Article 44, which is something which is totally kept out of his discourse. I feel that those who speak about India first need to understand, especially when they attack it, that a deliberate fear psychosis is created amongst certain communities to keep them away from the core issues of development. I think India is one, irrespective of the region we hail from or the religion we practice. My interjection with regards to Mr. Owaisi's statement is this, that when he attacks Mr. Modi on issues of secularism, this is a bogey always raised to keep communities away from fruits of development. Today, the fact of Gujarat is that I represent is this.
He got the question.
No, allow me to finish, because I'll finish my introductory comments with this only.
No, I will come to you for introductory comments.
Which are Muslim so-called dominated have voted for the BJP on the basis of good governance.
Ms. Smriti Irani, I will come to you for introductory comments, but I will remove 30 seconds from introductory comments because you've taken more time in this part of the question. Mr. Owaisi, your response to Smriti Irani.
The first point which the BJP spokesperson is completely unaware is that in our constitution, madam, we have fundamental rights, which we call you cannot touch it. The fundamental rights, I have spoken of Article 25 to 30. You talk about an article which is not a fundamental right. Secondly, I talked about pluralism, which is the preamble to our constitution, which you cannot touch, which the Supreme Court has said. Thirdly, if you come, and thirdly, Mr. Ram Madhav can respond to it. He can guide us that I have read an RSS document which says that anyone who's the national of this country, irrespective of Shaiva, Shakta, Vaishnava, Sikh, Jain, Muslim, Christian, by way of his creed or mode of worship is an Hindu, which I don't believe in this. This contradicts what I have just said. The pluralism and ethos of this country.
We'll allow one more rebut or an interjection. I think Mr. Ram Madhav is taking that. Go ahead, Mr. Madhav. Is it a rebut or a counter question you put forward?
I have an observation and I don't think I have to put any question. Firstly, Mr. Owaisi, no need. A party which goes by the name Muslimin today talks about pluralism. It's quite funny to me, number one. Number two, your statement is, it's quite, I cannot understand when you say that talking about India is majoritarianism. We have to rewrite our dictionaries. You have to invent new words to talk about the country. If I talk about India, you say it's majoritarianism. Your argument is quite illogical, and you are motivated by a particular bias. That bias is in your religious bias.
Mr. Ram Madhav, it's not religious bias. It is your mental bias. I am telling you that India is a mosaic which has religions, which have languages.
Then why do you have the name Muslimin in your party? Why don't you change it to something which is more secular, more pluralist?
Mr. Ram Madhav,
it should be pluralist.
Mr. Ram Madhav.
Only two parties in this country have the name Muslimin. One is Muslim League, which was responsible for the partition of this country. The other is Majlis Ittihadul Muslimin.
Okay. Mr. Ram Madhav, please read the Hindutva judgment of Supreme Court. Asking for votes for a community, for its upliftment, for its empowerment and creating confidence in parliament democracy is not a crime. Asking for votes under the name of hatred for a community is wrong according to Supreme Court, which unfortunately is being practiced by your organizations, though you don't participate politically, because we know what happened, your resolution, you cannot practice in politics.
Our second speaker who is giving their points of view, and the only reason I'm interrupting this debate is because we have an open debate round coming in. Let everybody give their points of view. And I just want one small request to make everyone. Put your question in. I know you have very strong observations to make, but you put your question or put your rebut, and we have a longer time for observations. Our second speaker today will be Smriti Irani. She gets 90 seconds because she took more than 2 minutes with her opening remarks. Smriti Irani, on the subject, communalism before the polls and the secular card after the polls, being the reality of Indian politics. Your time starts now. Well,
being the only woman on the panel, I presume that I'd get 33% more of the time, but I don't. And I will reiterate what I said in my interjection with Mr. Owaisi, which is this. I think for too long, and I'm very glad that today the youngsters occupy a major portion of the audience. For too long, people in our country have been scared into voting on the basis of secularism and communalism. We are a nation which has given the world the message of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are a nation of people who have lived a life of respecting each other's way of life, the religions we preach, the religions we practice, and are extremely accommodative. Hence, specifically, young India today recognizes and realizes that the secularism bogey is always presented by those who have been inefficient in governance. And today, the young India, which seeks to vote in Lok Sabha 2014, looks forward to issues with regards to the economy, with regards to their own employment opportunities, with regards to the challenges that they face vis-a-vis getting education today. And for them to be swayed away by raising the secular bogey, I think those who interject or intervene in this kind of a dangerous policy to shift the focus away from issues of governance and development will be sorely disappointed when this young India comes out and puts India first and votes on issues of good governance.
Counter questions. I wonder, you keep repeatedly talking about the secular bogey, though I am not allowed interjections at this stage. But I wonder whether you think that, that the younger generation, the new India, will be more tolerant about communalism. And I found it very interesting and intriguing, Ms. Smriti Irani, that you have kept a very complete silence on that subject of communalism. You speak about the secular bogey, but you ignored one part of the subject which was put before you. Now, rebuts or counter questions for Smriti Irani at this stage.
I've never been known to shy away from it.
But you just
did.
And
I have directly interjected or presented my views vis-a-vis the secularism bogey.
You did speak on communalism.
Psychosis has been created. That is not something which is restricted to this particular debate or this particular channel. That is something that even youngsters of this nation have themselves experienced.
May I at this stage make a confession that I am extremely tempted to go into debate with you, Ms. Smriti Irani, on the subject. I will hold myself back because I must give way to the other panelists. I'm not standing for election, you all are.
Could I
counter questions, the first rebut. Is it a rebut or a counter question?
No, it's a counter question I want to ask Smriti ji. When you speak about secular bogies, do you believe that the plurality of the country should not be respected by all? Or does anybody have a right to impose one's God over another? Would you answer that?
I think, Randeep ji, I've been extremely clear when I say that my definition of secularism is putting India first.